All right, we are live. We're going to witness a very interesting presentation on the topic that we've actually touched a bit earlier in a panel. It's a topic that I believe that has a lot of synergy with all the activities that are done right now and in this year in relation to the expansion of TYPO3, so it fits very well. The TYPO3 agency startup kit is a model which is proposed by Pixelant and by Mathias to open up new opportunities for companies and for TYPO3. So Mathias, the floor is yours. Please start.
Thank you very much. So I don't know where all of you come from, but one thing is certain: starting up with TYPO3 in a new country can be a daunting task. And it might have been easier before, but now that the internet has sort of settled in, and I mean, there are people coming into our agencies who have never experienced a life without the internet and websites. We think quite differently when we try to get new websites for our businesses. And in different countries, people think differently. And I had an experience. I talked with someone from a Norwegian municipality, and they said that, well, when we want a new website, we don't look for a CMS, we look for a document system, a document management system. And that's not what I would do, but they did that. They got a wonderful CMS that was sort of pent onto the whole document management system. In that system, they got imported 5,000 pages. They had 100 users. The system had no way of controlling access and permissions. So all of the 100 users, that's people at schools and around everywhere in the whole municipality, they had access to edit all of the pages, and they didn't know where any of the pages belonged in the menus, etc. So that is a bit how we're living today. We need a website, and then we just go out there and we get it. But we don't always know about TYPO3, especially if we're in what I call a developing country, which means a country that is not in the Germany, Austria, and Switzerland region, like Norway, where I come from. So first, very briefly, a little bit about myself. So I'm Mathias Lesniak. I live outside of Oslo, a beautiful place called Nesodden. And when I don't just sit around at the beach, which is very cold right now, I work at Pixelant. And I am also a board member in the TYPO3 Association. If you want to read more about me, you can probably check out my Twitter feed. But anyway, when you set up a new website, when you set up a new agency and you want to start in a country, you are pretty much alone. Imagine that there's nobody else in your country dealing with TYPO3. And you had to go out there, build everything alone. You have to make all of the mistakes alone. You're maybe even mistrusted by clients because what you're bringing to the market is something totally new for them, something that nobody else is using, something that you have to convince them that they should use, even though you're the only agency working with that CMS in that country or that region. What happens to you if you go bankrupt? You know, what should the clients do then? Of course, you're not going to go bankrupt, but the clients are going to ask that question. But being alone is not what open source is about. Open source is about rowing together, being together, and being in a community where you share what you learn, where you share what you make, and you make a business out of that. And to go global with TYPO3, we have to realize that. And we it is so that if you go into a new region, like here in Norway or in Sweden, where Pixelant has its head office, we're actually pretty much the only ones running a TYPO3 agency. And we've had the experience where clients come and they say, well, you know, you're the only ones doing TYPO3. We really believe that you can deliver the best solution, but we just can't trust a CMS that has only one agency in our country. So to go really global with TYPO3, we had to make sure that in every country, in every region, there is a critical mass of agencies so that things go by themselves. And that means we actually, to win, we need to build competition. We have to bring in our own competitors and make them into TYPO3 agencies. But teaching agencies takes a lot of energy. And if you're going to do that alone, take on training your country in TYPO3, that's going to be quite tough on you. And I'm not sure it's going to work out for your marketing budget. So why not look at this from an open source perspective? Why not collaborate? Why not settle on reuse? Why not improve things together and create global communities and regional communities? So that's why we thought, why can't we create an agency onboarding path or a package, a kit that you as an agency can use to become a TYPO3 agency, but also that loan agencies around the place can use to attract new agencies and to know what to tell them and to make them understand how great TYPO3 is. So this year we submitted a budget idea, and we want to test this in Scandinavia, but this is about collaboration. So this is not going to be something that's only for us. We want to make a reusable package, a localizable package where all of the parts are open, that everyone can use, and that we hope that everyone out there will participate in creating as well. Something that we can develop and improve together. And we really, really welcome everyone to come in and participate in this initiative. So what we want to do with this package, a kit, is we want to have two steps in this package, or two main steps. First, we want there to be an outreach part. That's especially for these existing agencies. Outreach, well, we'll talk more about that. And then onboarding. That means these new agencies that come in, how can they get into TYPO3 as painlessly and as quickly as possible and start producing websites and selling them to the clients, and maybe in the other order. So let's look a little bit at what we're thinking about. Well, attracting new agencies. What is that about? We need to attract them, and then we need to onboard them. Doing this in the right order is essential for the growth of TYPO3, we think. So what is in this outreach part in the plan that we've made? And well, this isn't set in stone, so this can change, but this is the ideas that we have. We have 3 steps within this part. Outreach first means that we get exposure for TYPO3 locally in Scandinavia or in Spain or in Latin America or in Eastern Europe, wherever you are, getting exposure, making a plan that everyone can follow, that everyone can make something out of to get exposure where they are. Things like content examples, talking points, things for the media, things for blogs, maybe ads. And hopefully we can also say that, well, this idea works specifically well here, or for this target group. Then we want to create attractive videos, not training videos, we're not yet there, but really videos that demonstrate core TYPO3 features. So showing the value that these features can have for agencies and their clients. These videos should be ready for voiceover. So not with a lot of talking heads, but really something that shows, and then it's easy for anyone to add their own voiceover and their own language to these videos, so they can be reused anywhere. Finally, the third point is to informing by, when you've attracted someone, to give them a webinar, maybe to give them an introduction to TYPO3 that really convinces them that, yes, our next website we're going to make with TYPO3. So basically, this first step about outreach is a marketing plan for how to convert agencies to TYPO3. And the second part of this plan is onboarding, or basically a getting started for agencies. If you've been convinced that you should make your next website in TYPO3, you need to know how to do it, of course. So there we have 4 parts that we're thinking will be vital to such a process. So the first point is courses, introduction courses, not only for developers, but course programs, again, reusable for anyone, courses that teach everyone in the agency how to deal with TYPO3. Not only how to develop, but how to sell it, because you have to sell it first before you can create the website. Also marketing, something for the CEOs, for all of the C-levels, something that really explains TYPO3 to them so that they get excited and can start talking about TYPO3. The second part is a to-do list, and that might sound really simple, but imagine that you are a new agency getting into TYPO3. What you need is actually a list where you can check off what steps you've been through. Have you taught all of your staff about TYPO3? Have you made advertisements? Have you written articles? Have you talked to people in the open source community in your region or country? Stuff like that. And quite a detailed to-do list, so that any agency that starts will have a description of the steps that they need to take in order to become a true TYPO3 agency. The next thing is exams, and there's actually come a really nice idea from the education committee to do sort of mini certifications, and that's a little bit what we're thinking about here. Some kind of way for the agencies to also check that they have all of the knowledge that they need in order to be able to produce a website for a new client in TYPO3. And finally, to make it easier for agencies to start, give them some kind of starter templates that they can make websites in, whether it's Bootstrap or it's T3Kit or any other package. Something that really runs with this program is to give them the first steps to really get into TYPO3 without putting too much work into it. So that's kind of the idea that we're working with, and we would really, really like you to help us. We would really like this to be an open source project, a community project where everyone can be involved. And we're going to try, if we get the budget that we want to try this out in Scandinavia. But maybe you're sitting there and thinking, well, this is right for my country too, or my region. Well, then contact us and we'll do this together, because together is really the open source way of doing things. And that's also sort of something that you can actually do marketing about and tell your local newspaper about that we're actually a part of this great project together where we build business worldwide. On top of this, a lot of exciting things are happening. And I think 2021 is going to be really the year for outreach and onboarding in TYPO3. The TYPO3 guidebook is coming out. And this isn't just a normal guidebook like, well, how to build a website. The TYPO3 guidebook actually speaks to all of the different parts of an agency. It tells you how to think when organizing a website, how to think when selling a website, how to understand your market, in addition to giving you a good insight into how TYPO3 actually works. What are the strengths in TYPO3 and how can you use them and how can you learn to use them in the best possible way? And excitingly enough, 20th of December is the date when the TYPO3 guidebook is being released. So by the start of this project, we will have the guidebook as well as an already written helping hand in teaching new agencies how wonderful it is to be a TYPO3 agency and an open source agency. So we should really get together and grow TYPO3 together. We're a wonderful community around TYPO3. And if the title of this presentation sounded a little bit like, you know, fanatically liberalist with competition solves everything, well, competition and open source is really about collaboration. So if you take another look at the title for this presentation, maybe we should just call it Building Community is Necessary. Building local community is where we have to go with the TYPO3 agency startup package. Let's see, I don't know if I can see the different questions that have come in here. Oh yes, there's come a couple of things in here. Let's see. That's true. Felicity actually says that in the chat as well, that there is a presentation, a talk, an interview with the authors of the TYPO3 guidebook tomorrow at 9 p.m. Central European time, where you can actually win a free copy of the TYPO3 guidebook. And that's what's called Deploy Friday, which is run by Platform SH. There is a link in the chat, so you can find it there, or just Google Deploy Friday and Platform SH, and you'll find it. There you'll learn more about the contents of that book. I will also go and post a link to you of the general text about our wonderful idea about the agency startup package that's now in the chat, so you can see it there. So very good. Do you have any further questions for me? Or would you like to join us? Please type into the stage chat and we'll get to see your name. We'll get to see any questions. Concrete steps for the package. Thank you, Thomas. Well, concrete steps for the package, in addition to these minor ones that I've pointed out, it's really about trying to create building blocks. So for example, if we have an ad campaign, for example, we want to write those ads and not only write the text, but tell you how to use them. What's the target group for this? And hopefully, as we start using them, also tell you about the performance of these ads. When it comes to videos, for example, I already said a little bit about it, but this thing about videos is that they can quickly get quite expensive. And therefore, as much as possible, what we want to do is create videos that you can reuse in your own language and reuse in as many ways as possible. That also goes for articles, for example, trying to build building blocks that really create a package that you can construct yourself and target towards the agencies that you are interested in reaching, or that you think might be interested in TYPO3. For example, here in Scandinavia, there are a lot of WordPress agencies, and we think that TYPO3 might be especially interesting for them, as not as a WordPress replacement, but as a professional one-step up CMS for their larger clients. Let's see if there's no more questions. I will take a couple of moments just to say a little bit about the importance of the different roles in the agency. It is very easy that you start thinking about TYPO3 as developer driven, but we see that more and more of the choices of a CMS are actually made by marketers. So other people in agencies and other people at the client side are becoming interested in choosing a CMS. That means that you can't only speak to the developer anymore, but you actually have to speak to a broad range of people. And that also means speaking to CEOs, for example, or marketers or other people. Technical backup for starting agencies is a really interesting thing. And I think the TYPO3 community has a good deal of nice documentation, for example, but we also have initiatives that deal with trying to teach people how to use TYPO3. And those have been really popular, and we hope that those will continue, such as the mentorship program, for example, where you have one-to-one mentoring of TYPO3 integrators, so that they, or to be TYPO3 integrators, so that they can learn TYPO3. Oh, thank you, Monica. Yes, offering agencies a parachute when they are struggling technically, that's a really good idea. That's something I think we should bring into this, because it's really hard to be an agency that's new in something and then being thrown into deep water where a site suddenly isn't working. So maybe partnering with other agencies. And I mean, that's one of the roles of being open source as well, that we're not really building competition, we're building community. So if you're an agency who want to help other agencies grow, you need to actually collaborate with them and help them if they have a problem, because if they deliver a bad TYPO3 website, that will hurt you too. Yes, that is also important. Felicity says that thinking about maintenance of materials in the package, would you have to pitch it at a level that didn't reference web version numbers, so it could be evergreen, or at least green for longer? Yes, that's a really good point as well. It is important that the packages that we create, or the building blocks, talk about USPs of TYPO3, and that it teaches TYPO3. So being as version agnostic as possible is probably good, but of course changes happen, and we're all glad when we have new features in TYPO3. So there's a weighing up there between the two sides. Offering low-cost SLAs to junior partners is also a very good idea. And that all plays into this thing about actually taking part in teaching and mentoring TYPO3 agencies and people involved in TYPO3. And I think that goes not only for developers and integrators, but also maybe for marketers and salespeople. So very good. I think there are no more questions coming in. So I will just use this chance to say thank you very much for listening. And I'm really happy if you reach out to us and say that you're interested in participating in building this and trying out the package or the building blocks when we build them. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you.